I'm back. I want to say I'm sorry. Um, I'm recording this December 21st, late at night. And it's been about almost 2 weeks since I've recorded something. So I'm planning on having this video out, Saturday morning. And I just want to first, before I get into anything, just apologize to all of you. The last 2 weeks have been really stressful, but it's all over now. I can get back to doing this, and I'm happy. And I just want to apologize for not making any content whatsoever for 2 weeks. I had to really focus on some other stuff. So I'll be back, hopefully doing like my usual plan of 2 to 3 videos a week, at least do my podcast. Which I'm gonna have this episode kind of just be one, no editing and all that. So I just want to apologize for just not posting for 2 weeks. I'm really sorry. But enough of that. Welcome back to another episode of the Duncan White NBA podcast. Like I said, it is December 21st. It's late at night, about 11:20 p.m. Central Time. This is Duncan White. It's been a while since I've done this, so I'm sorry. Make sure you go like this video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Slam Duncan, for more NBA content. Also, make sure you go follow me on Twitter at Duncan_White14. That is the one thing I did keep up with, kinda. Not every single day, but I did keep up with my Twitter while I wasn't able to record. But make sure you go follow me on Twitter, Duncan_White14. I do tweet a lot, especially tonight. And to be honest, I really don't have a plan for this video. I usually have a whole like stuff I want to go through. I just kind of want to really just want to apologize. Again, I'm sorry. I don't know if you could tell in my voice or just how I look. Like, I'm exhausted. So this is probably actually going to be a shorter video than like my usual podcast videos, which is like that ranges between like 50 to maybe like 110 minutes sometimes. I'm sorry, jeez, I can't do math. 50 to 70 minutes. But like I'm very tired and I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to do this, and like you can hear my voice. I kind of want to just go to bed, but obviously I need to get a video out because it's been 2 weeks. So really, I just kind of with just this video just because I was so tired. I didn't really make a plan. It's just kind of just talk about whatever comes to my mind about basketball. I do have one thing I definitely want to talk about, and that's the Bulls. Obviously, I'm a Chicago guy. But other than that, I mean, really, the other thing I was kind of thinking about, and I'll just kind of see where this leads me to, is to just talk about the Western Conference and how it's 14 teams deep and 14 teams can make the playoffs still. I mean, the only team that's really not going to be in contention for playoff spot is the Phoenix Suns. Sorry, Phoenix. But all the other teams are really in the hunt, and it's kind of crazy, not going to lie. And it's actually really cool for the NBA because it's been a long time. Well, I guess not a long time, but the past 3 years have just been, the West has just been dominated by the Warriors, and then last year was the Houston Rockets, but then the Warriors still won. So it's good to see now that the Warriors are not constantly number one, or at least like they're not constantly just gonna be dominant every single night. Like you have other teams now that are willing to contend with them, and it's awesome to see. But before I get into that, though, I do want to talk about the Bulls, because in the 2 weeks that I did not make a video, a lot of stuff has happened. Maybe I'm wrong with this, but I believe in my last video I talked about Jim Boylen a lot, because I know I made one video about Jim Boylen and Hoiberg got fired, and I made a video about that, my reaction, and Jim Boylen, and what I thought he would bring to the team. And then I think I made another video, and that was just like, my usual podcast video, and I talked about other topics, but I also then talked about Jim Boylen's, like, I think first or second game, and how I was impressed. What then happened, obviously, was the worst record or worst loss ever in Bulls history to the Boston Celtics on Saturday night. That was like 2 weeks ago. I don't even think I tweeted anything about that either. Like, I was just like, one, shocked, but like, two, I wasn't like, I was shocked, but I also wasn't very surprised. Like, I kind of figured the Bulls would come out flat that night because they just won against OKC the previous night, so they're playing it back to back. But I mean, like, I was shocked at how bad of a loss it was, but I wasn't shocked that they lost. So I kind of want to like start there and kind of go up till now. Hopefully I can stay on that timeline for Boylen or really just the Bulls in general. And then I want to definitely talk about what they're going to do moving forward, because oh boy, the injury bug, man, is just, it's killing us right now. And I'm really starting to kind of think about the tank train and whether we should do it or not, but I'll get to that once I get through everything else. So I do want to talk about, though, what happened with that whole fiasco after the 56-point loss to the Celtics. Jim Boylen after the game said that he was going to have practice, and everyone was kind of going crazy because, well, really it was the media. I think blew it up a lot. Like, the media took it to another level. Like, it wasn't as big of an issue as the media thought it was or made it to be. That's the media's job, to basically just blow up a storyline. But during the Boston Celtics game, the Bulls starters, they came out flat and could not score in the first 6 minutes. And so Jim Boylen decided to do a 5-man sub all at once and brought out all the starters and put in 5 guys off the bench. And not going to lie, I 100% agree with that move in the first quarter. I was like, yep, this is definitely the right move, because clearly the starters were not ready to play. And the bench unit did pretty well to keep us at least in the game in the first half. And that move's a Greg Popovich move. It's something that I've seen Greg Popovich do a lot. If his starters come out flat, or just like, he sees like maybe 2 guys in like the first 3 minutes make like 5 mental errors in like a span of like 3 minutes at the beginning of the game, he'll take those guys out immediately. That's just how it is. Everybody's held accountable. And I guarantee you, if Hoiberg was coaching at that time and the Bulls came out flat like that, he would just let it go and run his usual rotation. And then the starters start thinking like, oh, I can just kind of like, do whatever the heck I want. And just, if we get off to a slow start, well, I still get my minutes. No, everyone's held accountable. If you play bad, you're going to get taken out of the game. You're going to sit there on the bench and you're going to watch. You have to play up to a standard to not only play, but to start. And I think Jim Boylen has done a great job with that. So then third quarter, same thing happened. Like, the Bulls didn't come out flat in the third quarter, but you're already down by like 25. Like, you got back into the game in the second quarter. You made like a 10-point game, and like, I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. The last 3 minutes of the second quarter, the Celtics go on like a 11 or 13-0 run. I'm like, oh, okay, well, there goes the game. And that's basically what happened. So Jim Boylen does another 5-man sub early in the third quarter, and the Bulls were only losing the quarter like 5-3. So everyone's just like, what is he doing? This is like insane. And I think people did not understand the fact that like the Bulls were not going to win that game. And I know like it was addressed after that game during the press conference. Like, Boylen was asked that question, like, why did you pull him out in the third quarter when you were only losing the quarter 5-3? And Boylen said that it was basically just like, well, why play him when we're going to practice tomorrow? And was just basically saying like, we need to save him for practice. And everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, we're talking about practice." Thinking back to the Allen Iverson comment, like we're talking about practice here, and like we're not talking about the game, we're talking about practice, and everyone's going insane about that. And well, I think that comment was technically wrong if you take it in like literally. I think what Boylen was really just saying though, like this is what I took away from it when he made that 5-man sub again. It didn't play the stars for the rest of the half, or really the rest of the game, I should say. It like the Bulls were down like 20 plus. They were not going to win that game. Why risk Zach LaVine and Wendell Carter Jr., Markkanen out there? Like, why risk it? Why would you risk having them get injured? Like, there's no way you're winning that game, so why would you even play them? Now, granted, they're saying like it's embarrassing, and yeah, it is embarrassing. I mean, if you're gonna play though, like you gotta start out better first, so then you're not in that situation, and then you don't get to the point where the coach is like, well, we gotta save you, like we can't afford you getting injured. So yeah, it's embarrassing for the players, but it's like that's on them also. And I know Boylen took a lot of hate for that, and like a lot of people were saying like, oh my god, Boylen's a horrible coach. I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, do you want a coach like Hoiberg who would just let things roll, even though like you couldn't score in the first 6 minutes, and then he would still stick to his usual rotation? You'd probably lose that game even by like 70 if Hoiberg was coaching that game. So I have to say, like, people were driving me insane when they're like, oh, Boylen's a horrible coach. I'm like, it's been a week. Let's chill out here. The defense has been a lot better throughout the 3 games except for that Boston game. So forget that Boston game. Defense has been great. Or like people just forget the positives immediately. So that happened. And then now I want to talk about the whole Bulls group message text that they're saying like they were thinking of like ways of, oh, we should boycott practice the next day because they thought they were going to do like their 3-hour, suicide runs and push-ups and, military workouts that Boylen basically made them do the previous 2 practices. But like the storyline was that the entire Bulls players were doing that. People like, and this is where people don't always pay attention, and this is where I was kind of getting upset with some people. It was really only 2 or 3 players that made that idea up to boycott practice or just go there all at once and then just leave immediately. The veterans, thank goodness, they're like, no, you're not boycotting here. Especially Robin Lopez said this, and Markkanen also. We're not going to boycott practice. We're going to go in there. We're going to ask for a players-only meeting. We're going to act professional. We're all adults here. And then after the players-only meeting, we'll meet with the coaches, and we're probably not going to practice or whatever, but we need to just clear out everything. Just get a fresh start. We need to just move on from that loss to Boston. And like, for some odd reason, that part of the story really was never told in any of the stories or articles that were written. It was always that all the Bulls players are already turning their backs on Coach Boylen. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it was 2 to 3 players, and like I could probably guess who it was, But people need to understand that wasn't the entire team, and if anything, I think it helped the team. Like that entire whole situation after they said that the Bulls were gonna boycott and everything, but that never happened. They had the players only meeting. They met with the coaches. I think that helped the team become together as a unit. And yes, the Bulls then after that took some bad L's. But you got Chris Dunn back. You got Bobby Portis back at that time. And you could really see, though, that Jim Boylen's system of defense is really fueling this team. Like, he has like an old school type of coaching, and it's something that you don't see. And for me personally, I would rather see the Bulls. Like, the Bulls have a better, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I think the Bulls have a better chance of winning basketball games if they keep if they focus on keeping their opponent under 100 points instead of trying to score 120 points. Like, focus on stopping your opponent instead of trying to outscore your opponent. That's where I think the Bulls win games. And that's really Boylen's system, is to make sure defensively, we're always going to bring it every single night, because that defense can always be a constant. Offense, we can struggle at times, but our defense will always be there. And then offensively, make sure most of the time you're going to have the opposing team have to guard you for the full 24 seconds of the shot clock. And at the right times, you're going to push the ball and get easy buckets. And then in the half-court set, obviously, try to make the team guard you for a whole 24 seconds. Also, though, you're playing inside out. It's not going to be outside in. It's not going to be wings taking 11 threes a night. We're not going to be jacking up a ton of threes. We're going to attack the paint first, establish low post presence, and then we'll kick it outside for wide open shots. And that itself has completely changed over this Bulls roster, like just how they play. And we're still taking losses. It's because of the fact of the injury bug, and it's everybody's developing. Not to mention the fact that we have to remember that Boylen didn't get a preseason. Like, players were adjusting to his coaching, and I think if you look at tonight, the one against the Magic, it really showed how I think the players are really starting to get his system and start understanding how to play in the system. But during the last 2 weeks, we're taking losses, but you can just see, though, good habits are being formed, and I was really trying to say how important that was when Boylen took over. How we need to build winning habits, so then later down the road we don't have to worry about trying to break bad habits. We already have those winning habits, and then if maybe we can attract a star free agent to come right in, and they see everybody else doing the right thing, it's an easy transition for them. So, I want to talk about Chris Dunn and Bobby Portis coming back, and oh my goodness, those two guys, those are bulldogs. And on every single team, you always need a guy that plays with a chip on their shoulder. And Bobby Portis and Chris Dunn are both guys, like they play with a chip on their shoulder, and they're gonna fight until the end. I don't know if I'm probably a good amount of you guys know this, but like Chris Dunn, when he was younger, like the only way he survived was basically betting on basketball games, and sometimes he didn't have the money, but he bet on basketball games just to get money, just to get food. And this was against people who had armed weapons, and Chris Dunn had to basically play his way into getting food. And that itself just shows how much of a bulldog he is. He's never gonna give up. He's gonna give you everything he has every single night. Bobby's just instant energy off the bench, and just those two combined, like it's basically 40 points of your offense at times. Like, or at least it's gonna be 30 points of your offense, and not to mention Bobby's rebounding and Chris Dunn's ability to run the offense and be the lead, a captain out there. It's humongous change. I thought, both of them were playing well. Oh, camera. I thought both of them were playing well when they got back, and obviously they had to shake off some rust, but they were both playing well. Then, of course, Zach LaVine got injured against the Magic, and that's been unfortunate because now the trio of LaVine, Markkanen, and Dunn have only played like 266 minutes together on the court, which is I just still can't believe that once one of those guys gets back, or like both or two guys of the trio get back, and all of a sudden another guy goes out. It's just insane. And Bobby Portis is also out 2 to 4 weeks, along with LaVine. So it's just the injury bug this year for Chicago Bulls. It's just so bad, so unfortunate, so unlucky. I don't know if after the win tonight, if we have the worst record in the league anymore, but we're down there, unfortunately. And I really did not expect the Bulls to be in this position at this moment. I thought potentially they can have like a Sacramento Kings type of year where, a bunch of young guys but they're gonna surprise a lot of teams. And I thought if everybody was healthy at the beginning of the season and we just did not get hit by this injury bug throughout the entire season, I thought the Bulls would absolutely be surprising a lot of teams and be that surprise team in the East, potentially make the playoffs. But that's just not happening. Before I get to talking about the idea of tanking, I do want to address Jabari Parker. It's so like I feel really bad right now for Jabari because like I think he absolutely deserves to still play. He's averaging 60 points per game. I mean, like that's still good. Unfortunately though, his defense is just so atrocious. I think it got better under Jim Boylen. Like I absolutely like, I'm not asking Jabari to be a great one-on-one defender or like lock up his man, but like just be a good team defender. Be there in rotations when you see a pick and roll happen. Always be ready and be communicating with your teammates. But that's gotten better. I mean, especially the rotation part. Like he's gotten better, but it's still hard to keep him out on the floor. Especially on defense. It's just hard to cover up for him, especially when you don't have really like top tier defenders on your team also. So now that he's been benched and now they keep saying it's a stomach virus and other stuff, it's basically clear that he's not part of the Bulls' future anymore, unfortunately. I mean, I thought it would be a good hometown story, coming back to Chicago and maybe just, be that small forward that we need. But unfortunately, I don't know what happened with him and the coaching staff because clearly something happened. And now it looks like the Bulls are trying to trade him. So, I kind of have an opinion, but like at this point, I'm just, I'm just kind of upset about it, but like not very. It kind of was that type of thing that it was like you're kind of doomed from the start. It was like the whole Wade and Rondo signing that was just not a good idea from the start. You could just see that crashing down. The Jabari Parker experiment was kind of messed up from the start because you knew about his bad defense, and then you're paying him $20 million this 1 year, and then he has an option for $20 million the next year. And unfortunately, when I watch him play, you cannot play him alongside LaVine effectively. If you're gonna ever play Jabari Parker, LaVine has to be off the floor because LaVine is so ball dominant, and rightfully so. I think LaVine absolutely deserves the ball. But Jabari Parker is not effective off ball. It's hard to watch him play off ball because he just kind of stands around. And then when you try to put him in the post, he has all these really weird herky-jerky moves that just don't really flow within the offense. And now with Jim Boylen, running the offense and Chris Dunn's back, it's, it really makes sense so that Jabari Parker's not part of the offense at all. I mean, it's hard for me to figure out what he would even do. Because if you play him at the 3, like you kind of expect the small forward to be making back cuts, being a good 3-point option. Like just basically do what Justin Holiday does. But Jabari Parker can't really play the 3 anymore in today's NBA game. And then now Portis is back out, but like when we got Portis back, Jim Boylen even said it's hard to play 3 power forwards. So there's just like no minutes for him at all. And the way that Robin Lopez has been playing, I said before that, maybe it would be a good idea if you just use Bobby Portis as your only big man off the bench and you just kind of find a rotation between Markkanen, Carter Jr., and Portis. Like, you just kind of flip those guys around because they can all play the 4 or 5. But Robin Lopez, I think, is important just have a consistent veteran presence out there on the floor. So I think it's the way he's been playing, especially you need to play him too. So there's just no spot for Parker. What can the Bulls get for him in a trade? I really don't know. At this point, if we can somehow get a first-round pick, I'd be ecstatic because I'd be shocked if we can even get one. If anything, I want like a younger player that, that could potentially become something like that's a good rotational piece. Maybe like a good scorer off the bench, like a Lou Williams type of guy. But I mean, like that's just so hard to find. I mean, I don't want to get my hopes up too high and then like add a second rounder or something. I just don't want the Bulls to go out and like trade for a guy that looks kind of good. Like I just don't want to do like a Cameron Payne trade that they did. I still can't get over that trade. So that's just my thing. So I want to go to tanking now. I don't know at this point. Like for me personally, once like hopefully Levine's only out for 2 weeks. I doubt it. I just don't want it to be the full 4 weeks. Like, that's gonna be horrible. But for me, like the whole idea of tanking now is just like it's pretty like it looks like a good idea because the Bulls have the worst record in the league basically. I don't know who's worse right now, but I mean it's like why not tank? The only other teams that are really down there though are the Suns, the Hawks, and I don't think really anybody else. So my thing is I'm not a big fan of tanking because I think it intentionally you're ruining your player development. That's where I'm like, I don't want to tank. I don't want to intentionally start losing games and intentionally put in players and play them out of place to botch the game. I can't stand that. I don't see any benefit from it, especially when you don't know if the player that you pick in the top 3, 5, or whatever in the draft is going to become a superstar. There's no guarantee with that. So what you can guarantee, though, is development of your players. So, like, I don't want the Bulls to shut down Markkanen or Dunn or just only play them 10 minutes a night for the rest of the year. Like, it's important for those guys to develop. Even if with LaVine off the floor for the next 2 to 4 weeks, it's important for the Bulls to develop Dunn, Markkanen, Carter Jr., Chandler Hutchison, those guys. And now I would throw Shaquille Harrison into that mix. But it's important for those guys to get minutes still and play in competitive games and late game situations like that. If you just don't play them at all or just bench them, like you start them but then you bench for the rest of the game, you get no benefit from that besides losing and then get the number 1 overall pick, and then who knows what the Bulls front office will do from there. And not to mention the fact that you may pick Zion, but again though, like I think Zion, he's a great talent, but again, you don't know what he can become, and I mean that both ways. Like he could become the best player of all time, but then you could also be like, well, he could be the complete bust. So, and that's no shot at Zion. I'm just saying that like we look at guys and we're like, oh, we should absolutely tank for them. Like there's no reason to. He's gonna become a superstar, but then he doesn't really become one. I mean, look at someone like Wesley Johnson who got picked, I think, like top 3, and he's really just a role player in this league. So there are just so many different variables that are out of the Bulls' control with when you tank, because you're depending on one of the Duke guys to become a superstar. And while I think that could easily happen, Zion Williamson, and obviously RJ Barrett, I mean, like those 2 guys, they look fantastic, but one is, even if you have the best chance of getting the top pick, it's now that the worst 3 teams have all the same chance of getting the top 3 picks. So you don't, or get the first pick. So you don't even have the best chance of getting the top pick. And then you could also fall back to 4th, and you don't even get one of the Duke guys. You don't even get Cam Reddish potentially. So there's just so many different variables out of the Bulls' control. If you tank, you're depending on all those variables, and that's where I'm just like, control what you can control. I don't really like the idea of tanking. And while it's like, well, it might as well, right? You have like the worst record in the league. There's no guarantee you get the top pick, because I think people have forgotten that the NBA changed the rules that the 3 worst teams in the league all have the same chance of getting the top pick. So, like, people need to start remembering all these rule changes, because everyone's like, oh, if you get the worst record, then you'll obviously get the first pick. No, that's not how it goes anymore. So I like, if the Bulls, I just think even the Bulls just, if they, they don't tank it all. They just develop their players. They're gonna lose enough games to get like a top 8 pick. Like that's where I'm at right now. I mean, and top 8 that's still good. Look what we got with Markkanen at 7, Wendell Carter Jr. at 7. I mean, who knows? We could get like 8, 9. It's you never know. Donovan Mitchell's drafted 13th, so we just tanking. I just don't like the idea. And I've talked already a lot. Jeez, sorry, I'm tired. I do want to just talk about a little bit the Western Conference before I wrap up this video. So I was watching NBA, or Inside the NBA last night, and the guys on there, Ernie Johnson, Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley, and usually Shaq, but Shaq wasn't there. Reggie Miller was filling in for him, but they were talking about the Western Conference and how there are 14 teams that can all make the playoffs. They are all playoff teams, but obviously there's only 8 spots in the Western Conference. So they were just talking about though, like how it's crazy out in the West right now because you don't know what's going to happen. You could lose 3 straight games and go from 5th all the way down to 12th in just 3 games. Like that's just how it is in the West. That's how competitive it is. So I want to like they mentioned 3 teams though that they think they have pulled away from the rest of the pack. But the 3 most dominant teams in the West are. This is what Reggie Miller said, and all the guys agreed. But Reggie Miller said Golden State, which is obvious, Denver, and Oklahoma City. Obviously, Golden State, that's just a given. Even like they're not at the top of the West right now, but like even if they aren't, it's just oh yeah, okay, they're going to be one of the most dominant teams. I have been saying. And if you watch any of my previous videos, I have been saying the Thunder are the second best team in the West. I just think overall Westbrook, who is coming off injuries obviously, but I mean he's gonna put up a triple double like every now and then, or every other night, or maybe every night. Who knows? He could probably average triple double again this year, and I wouldn't be surprised. Paul George is having a career year. Absolutely should be an all-star. Should be on the all defensive team. He's leading, I think, the league in steals right now. Don't count me on that. But he's obviously in the top 5. He's knocking down threes. He's just a perfect sidekick to Russell Westbrook. But they're really right now. It's not like any one is like on top. It's like they're both leading that Thunder team together. Steven Adams is the last guy of the big 3 right now and playing fantastic. Now and then you got Dennis Schroeder off the bench, which is just perfect for them. Nerlens Noel off the bench is awesome. I mean, I just think overall, because they have one of the best defenses in the league, you got one of the most explosive point guards, one of the best two-way players, and one of the best centers. And then you have a starting caliber point guard off your bench who can also play alongside one of the best point guards in the league and one of the best two-way players in the league very well. It's perfect formula, and I think it's working very well. Denver has been really shocking me. I will admit that I knew that Denver was going to be better than last year. I had them in the playoffs, but I did not expect them to be this good, especially with Will Barton out at the beginning of the year, and then I think Jamal Murray, Gary Harris is out. Now Paul Millsap's also out, and Nikola Jokic has really impressed me. I didn't think he'd be this consistent. He still has to work it out defensively, and especially now that Paul Millsap's not there to help him. But Jokic has really impressed me. I've been very, very surprised. And Denver just keeps playing well. And I've said, though, with Denver, if they keep their opponent under 100 points, they will win every single game. They just have that good of an offense. So I've been shocked. And just to kind of like go off of what Reggie Miller said, I have to, at this very moment, agree that those are the 3 teams that have separated themselves. Not by a whole lot. I mean, Golden State, obviously, they're just going to be always on top. I think actually OKC is better than Denver, but that's just me personally. But then Denver's like right there. But I think they've separated themselves from the rest of the pack. But it's not like a humongous margin. I still think that one of them, like, they can fall right back into the pack very quickly, you know. Now looking at the rest of the pack though, it's insane. Like, you get so many of these teams, just kind of going everywhere. I'm gonna pull up the standings right now, but it's shocking. And you know, when I made my playoff predictions at the beginning of this year, it's just like, well, there it all goes out. Like, just you really just don't know at this point. But when I look at it, so we already talked about the top 3 teams. So right now it's Denver, OKC, Golden State, 1, 2, 3. But then after that, it's the LA Clippers, LA Lakers, Portland, San Antonio, Sacramento, Houston, Memphis, Dallas, Utah, New Orleans, Minnesota. I personally think that all those teams, except maybe for Sacramento, because they're still really young. But I personally think all those teams are playoff teams. Like, I can legitimately see all those teams making the playoffs. They're worthy of being in the playoffs. So, but my thing is though, it's like, which team is gonna make a move to separate themselves from the rest of the pack? Because right now, and this is what they also talk about inside the NBA, and Charles Barkley made a good point. Like, at this point, you can take any of those Western Conference teams, except for the 3 that we talked about that they think pull themselves away. But you can be like, all right, Portland versus Houston. That's a toss-up. That's a legit toss-up game. You have absolutely no idea who's going to win that game. You just basically flip a coin. That's how it is. 50-50 chance. How about San Antonio versus Memphis? You don't know who's going to win that game. It's a toss-up. LA Clippers versus Dallas Mavericks. We just saw that matchup. It was a pretty good game, I'm not going to lie. But that's a toss-up game too. That was a close game. And even though the Clippers are in 4th and the Mavericks are in 11th, there's only a 2.5 game difference between those teams. Like, that's insane to me. Lakers versus, let's say, Utah. That's a toss-up. You don't know. You actually don't know. And then tonight, New Orleans versus the Lakers. Like, that was also a toss-up game, and it looks like the Lakers are about to win. So it's insane. Like, I can't tell you who's going to make the playoffs anymore in the West. But not going to lie, I like that. I like having, you know, the NBA not already be decided it, you know, at the beginning of the season. And not going to lie, I think potentially that the Warriors are not 100% the champion, the finals winners this year already. Like, you know, I think OKC is going to give them a run. Will they still pick Golden State in that series? Yes. But then, you know, Raptors, man, they're right there. I do want to talk about a little bit about Houston again, because Chris Paul just got injured. He's probably going to be out 2 to 3 weeks, maybe more because of his age. But people need, like, I'm going to keep iterating this until people start realizing it. Like, people need to stop with this whole Trevor Ariza and Luke Mbah a Moute thing. Like, I'm going to keep this short, but, like, Trevor Ariza and Luke Mbah a Moute, they're not the only reasons why the Rockets had success last year. They're not the only part of the defense. Like, everybody else on that team needs to be held accountable, especially the MVP James Harden, to play well, to play right. And now without Chris Paul, who's probably the smartest player on the team, and when I watch the Rockets without Chris Paul on the floor, they're probably one of the dumbest teams I've ever seen. It's like their next 5 games, I see 2 and 3 best case scenario, and that's kind of bad. Right now they're in 9th, and they could immediately fall back down to 14th, which they were at like 2 weeks ago. So Houston, though, like, everyone's just like gonna say, well, they're probably gonna fall back down. Well, here's the thing: if you played well at the beginning of the season and not played your stupid offensive sets that you guys do with just a bunch of isolation and actually play defense, you wouldn't be in this situation right now. Like, if you could have lost Chris Paul and been fine. That's just where I'm at right now. And I think the guys on the Rockets at this moment need to be held accountable, because no one's saying anything about James Harden right now, and it drives me insane. Like, he's the MVP. People need to hold him accountable to MVP standards now. Like, everyone's just giving like the LeBron James pass right now. It's driving me insane. You know, LeBron can't do anything wrong. Oh, it wasn't LeBron's fault. Oh, LeBron carried the team. Man, James Harden is just dribble, pass, bail me out, or flop, hopefully get the foul, take a bad shot. It's just how it is right now. So Houston, I had them in the top 3, and I don't think that's happening anymore. And they're a big disappointment, not gonna lie. I do want to talk about the sixth man of the year. I'm actually kind of interested, like what, maybe you guys could leave this in the comments or go ahead and send a tweet to me. But sixth man of the year is probably gonna be actually like a really good race. Right now, obviously Lou Williams is obviously there because he usually always is. But next to him on the same team, Montrezl Harrell has been very good this season, and I love what he does. Like, he is basically like, when I first saw him like actually play, like, I haven't really watched a lot of Clippers games. When I saw him play, like, I immediately just saw Joakim Noah because he's just instant energy. But then I thought about it more. Like, Joakim, while he was athletic, he's not as quick as Montrezl Harrell. Like, and now, first off, congratulations to Joakim getting back in the league for the Grizzlies. But Montrezl Harrell, man, like, his post-up game, especially his face-up game, is just so solid against bigger defenders, like bigger centers, because he's only like 6'8", 6'9", and he can still get a shot over like a DeAndre Jordan. Like, he reminds me of Kenneth Faried. Like, he's just, it amazes me how well he's playing, and he's just instant offense right off the bench, and really just instant energy both sides of the floor. And I love how Doc Rivers uses him, especially with Lou Williams. That pick and roll, man, it's perfect. But I also want to talk about Derrick Rose. If he continues to stay on the bench for the rest of the season, he's averaging 19 points per game and is shooting close to 40%, I think, from the field. Like, that's insane. And I saw a chart the other day, and it was just like showing like overall from all the shots like outside of 10 feet or whatever, and it was just like a guess who I am type of post. So it's just like it showed like all the percentages from all different spots on the floor, and overall this person is the best percentage from like outside of 10 feet or whatever. I'm not really sure what it was. You guys probably know what it was, but I was just like, oh, it's probably Kevin Durant or something like that. I was just like, I immediately thought like, oh, it's Kevin Durant, because Durant's just consistent everywhere on the court. But then I swiped it, and it's like, I am Derrick Rose. I'm like, oh my gosh, I keep forgetting how well he's shooting the ball this year. Like, Derrick's shooting the 3-ball very well, and I know Minnesota right now is like in the 14th, but again, they can jump up into like 5th in legit probably 4 games. Like, that's just how it is in the West. But like, if the Timberwolves have a good season and Wiggins can figure out himself, because he's getting paid like $147 million, if he can just if the Timberwolves can figure themselves out, maybe make another deal to get like an actual like guard. Like, I'm not saying point guard, but like get an actual guard or somebody, just to, like, another star. I think Derrick Rose has a legitimate case for being sixth man of the year. Not to mention also Domantas Sabonis down in Indiana. He's having a great year off the bench too. I mean, there are just so many guys right now that you could say, oh yeah, he could be sixth man of the year. I would love to have him off my bench. Like, I think that's gonna be actually like a really interesting race this year. Like right now, rookie of the year, it's like, well, it's probably gonna be Doncic. I mean, Doncic has just been so solid all season. And then like after that, you're just kind of like Ayton, maybe. Trae Young has not made a lot of noise recently. I had Wendell Carter Jr. up there, now he's just getting foul trouble all the time. Like, there's really not a lot of guys, Jaren Jackson Jr. has been pretty solid, I'd say. Marvin Bagley just hasn't played enough minutes, in my opinion. Mo Bamba is just starting to get minutes, like a lot more minutes. So it's just kind of like, I think Doncic just has that locked up because he's been playing the most minutes and has the most effective role. And the team around him is just perfect for him. And then, like, you look at MVP right now. That's actually, I think, also going to be an interesting race. It's clearly not going to be James Harden because they got off to a horrible start. I mean, I think people need to start talking about either Westbrook or George to be in that conversation. I mean, like, they have, like, the second-best team in the West. Like, you got to give them some credit. Like, someone's got to get credit here. a lot of people talk about Curry and Durant. I mean, obviously because they're they're two of the top players in the league and on the best team. But I had Curry personally initially because he just got off to a hot start and Durant wasn't really doing much. But now that like Curry's back, Durant's doing his thing, Klay Thompson's doing his thing, Draymond Green has been kind of trash. I'm not gonna lie. DeMarcus Cousins coming back soon. It's like, well, you guys really don't deserve it because you're playing with a full team of all-stars. Jokic, I will say, he deserves to be in the conversation. Obviously, Giannis, Anthony Davis, if the Pelicans can figure themselves out. LeBron, of course, could be up in that conversation, but, man, I don't think he deserves it. Even if, like, unless the Lakers get, like, they pull away, they get the number 1 seed by, like, 10 games, which it's not going to happen. It's like I don't see any reason to give it to him at all. Joel Embiid, I think, also deserves some credit. And then obviously Kawhi Leonard up in Toronto. So, I mean, that's going to be an interesting race. But I think that's going to be more decided as the year goes on. Like that, I think that's going to be something that's going to get more black and white as the season goes on. So, and then I don't really want to talk about Defensive Player of the Year because I don't really see much defense being played at all, and it's kind of driving me insane. Yeah. Coach of the Year, I mean, Nick Nurse has done a great job, so I don't know about that yet. So I do want to talk about a little bit Draymond Green, man. It's just been not too good. I swear to God, if he's an All-Star this year due to record, I'm going to fight those coaches because he does not deserve to be an All-Star. I did not think he deserved to be an All-Star at all. Like, even when the Warriors had the best record, like, man, it drove me insane because, like, he got in due to the Warriors record. Like, you got an award record and, like, you know, and everything like that. I'm like, I don't care about that. This person is only averaging like 11 points, I think 13 points max, and then 7 rebounds, 6 assists, blah 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 blah. You know, those are good numbers. Is it All-Star caliber? I don't think so. But then this is what I also got upset about. Like one of the years, Draymond Green was also selected. Al Horford was selected also. But then people were pissed off that Al Horford was selected, but he's averaging 50 points and 8 rebounds. So it's like similar numbers, but better. I think he's like at that moment because Gordon Hayward was out. He was the second best team on the Celtics, who were at the top of the East. So I'm like, the Celtics need to have 2 players at least, or else that's stupid. But with the Warriors, they got 4, and people were complaining about Al Horford being an all-star, but they weren't complaining about Draymond Green. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. So, sorry for the little rant. That's mostly going towards Shaq, because Shaq said that when the All-Stars were released, and I was just like, Shaq, you're stupid. Like, and I love Shaq and everything, but like, you can't say that Al Horford is not deserving to be an All-Star, but then Draymond Green is. Like, when you just not only look at the numbers, but just like look at how much of it more of an impact Al Horford has, and then Draymond Green is just playing on the best team at the time in the NBA. But then you're just like, oh, but Horford doesn't deserve it, but he's playing on the second best team at the time in the NBA. It's like, come on, that didn't make sense to me. So like, I personally hope, because like the West is gonna be stacked. The West is gonna be stacked with All-Stars, and a lot of guys are not gonna make it because, you know, they don't have enough spots. But as we get kind of closer, I mean, it's only December to that, but I mean, obviously you're gonna be start looking at who's gonna be an All-Star in the West, because it's gonna be kind of tough now that LeBron is there. Also, I mean, it's gonna be tough. East is gonna be, I think, pretty easy because, I mean, no more LeBron, obviously. I don't really know who's gonna be captain. That's gonna be kind of interesting, but I think it's gonna be Giannis just due to name and everything like that. You know, so that's just, you know, something to look forward to. I'll probably make a video of who my All-Stars are when it comes to that time, so be on the lookout for that around February. So I think I've talked enough. So again, I want to apologize for not posting for 2 weeks. I hope this video is up Saturday morning. And I'll definitely be making more videos. I'll be editing videos, and I don't know. I'll just be kind of testing some stuff. Like I don't know if I want to stay in this like type of format. The microphone's right here. You can see me talking into it and everything. And then maybe like edit some of these videos that from this set, or maybe I go back to Facecam. We'll see. But either way though, I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support. Yeah, it's been rough 2 weeks. Let's just say that. But I'm back. Duncan White is back. I'll be hopefully doing a new episode of the underscore NBA News podcast with David at some point. So be on the lookout for that. That's on podcasts.com, iTunes, Google Play. I said my podcast would be up there. And I know I said I'd be doing that, but I'm actually starting to think that might not be possible. But I'm still trying to like work some things out with it. So I'll definitely be looking at that. Hopefully I can get it up. I would love to get that up, but I'm okay if it won't be able to get up, and I'm okay with just having it on here. That'd be fine with me. So like I said, luckily I was able to cut this video shorter, or make this video shorter. Thank you guys so much for the support. Make sure you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, comment anything down below. Just your opinions, suggestions for my channel. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, The Slam Dunking, for more NBA content. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Duncan_White14. Bulls won tonight. Very happy against David's Magic. Good defense played. Magic only scored 80 points. Good game for the Bulls. On that note, this is Duncan White. Sign up for now.